Well, here we are still doing Vlogtober. I forget what day it is, but I'm just going to do them till the end of October. I am in here catching up with just a few things that I've got going on. I've got grandbabies here. Blankets. I've got the screensaver right there. It's a beautiful fall deck with the fireplace going. I thought that was fitting this morning. I've got a few things I got to do. I've got one of Madeline's well-loved toys, and I've talked to you about having my granddaughter with, she has autism and she has Down syndrome. So we love her very much, and she loves these kind of toys right here that have the floppy legs. This is a duck that she's got, and it's one of its arms have came off. She has just loved it to death, and it's got a little hole right here. So Grammy is pulling out the old needle and thread and patching up this stuffed, well-loved stuffed animal. It's a little thing I've got to do this morning, just a little task of love. And she has a whole closet of these here at Grammy's house of different stuffed animals with these dangly legs. But the thing about it is when she gets attached to one, she just loves it till it's nothing but shreds. Well, this I hand sew it, and it helps it to be stronger, and it holds on more. And she loves them, and she'll love them, and I'll have to resew them. Arms, heads, sometimes different things, but we make the ones that she loves to death. She had one that was a llama, and she loved that thing to shreds. We are not even sure where a llama went, but it was a pink llama. She loved that thing, didn't she, David?
Yep.
So here we are. We're just sewing this together. Doesn't have to be any kind of expert sewing. It does. It just has to be. Are your fingers in there?
Yeah.
Your fingers are in the shot. You can see your fingers?
No.
Okay. Good. Grammy's fingers are in there sometimes.
Yeah.
We do try to wash these on a regular basis because she just drags them around with her and she chews on them all the time. We try to keep them clean and have the things that she likes around. This is one of the ways that she stems with her autism, is she likes to take these little animals and do this and make them walk. And she can do a great job of that. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it, David? She can make them walk and dance, and they're just her little companions.
Yeah.
But she comes this morning, and Duck's arm is off, and she wanted to know what happened to him.
Yes.
And I told her Grammy would fix it. We call it the stuffed animal hospital whenever Grammy has to sew something that we love up, don't we?
Yes.
So I got to get Duck sewn up this morning.
Yes.
That's one of my very important tasks for the day. It won't take but just a few minutes. We have had a cozy fall morning.
Yep.
David's been over there just playing his little game.
Yeah.
Oops. So I just have this little neck piece. I got the arms sewn on pretty good. And I've just got to get this beloved toy sewn up and ready for her to play with.
Will, like, get attacked?
Yeah. So the other cats are kind of rough on Sonny.
Yeah, they attack him. There's like these little like scabs and stuff on his nose and his head.
He is a Maine Coon, and he is beautiful, isn't he?
Yeah.
What color is he?
He's orange and he's really fluffy, and like he has like this white looking like mane on the bottom. So I have a like lion plushies, and they look just like him.
So he looks like a lion.
Yeah.
Okay, are you going to have your cheese sandwich and your apples? And
Yes.
you already had this morning?
Yeah.
Got you some juice?
Yeah.
Hey there, sweetie bump. Guess what? How does he look? How does he look? Oh, he's got his arms back. Good morning, Cookie. Hey, buddy. You sure look handsome this morning. You sure look handsome, buddy. I've got a lot of things I've got to do in here. I had a croissant this morning, and it wasn't a croissant that I made. I got these at Sam's when I had to go get some groceries. So I had one of these this morning for breakfast, and I pulled some stuff out of the freezer that I wanted to use up. You know, I try to use up everything within a year, and it's getting right here down to the end, and so I'm doing some freezer clean out and trying to get some stuff done. And so I've got a lot going on here in my small space, in my small kitchen. I'm going to have to wash dishes here in a minute. I've got some things pulled out that I'll be using before we know it right here. Now, I buy this mayonnaise in a big container like this from Sam's sometimes when the small mayonnaise is too expensive. I'll just go ahead and get a big one like this. We use mayonnaise for a lot of different things, so it gets gone pretty quick. But when it gets down here to this bottom amount, I like to go ahead and put it in another quart jar, because this right here is a lot of air in here, and I don't like that air to build up, so I'm going to scrape this mayonnaise into this little jar. I wrote some of my Bible study down. I've got, I love to share this 4 types of love with everyone when it's around Valentine's Day. And I've got some of the favorite verses that I love, that I always keep something right here. So when I'm waiting on cook times, I can read these and be encouraged and sharpen my memory on some of these things. So that's what I had to do. Sometimes they get to looking a little rough right here at the refrigerator where I am cooking a lot. I absolutely love the kids' magnets like this because they're great for holding up stuff. They're good, strong magnets. So I have a few of these right here beside the stove. I've got little bits of herbs that I use a lot. Right here, some goldenrod. Some different things right here. There's some bay leaves that I grew. I got to check my bay tree and make sure I get it in so it doesn't freeze this year. But I've got a few things I got to catch up. This is the mess I made for breakfast right here. I made the grilled cheese sandwiches. For those of us that love the grilled cheese sandwich, I had that stuff out and making that this morning. Now these tomatoes, that's the end of the year garden tomatoes, and I have got to get them put up. Donald did. There were several that were big enough to have for breakfast. Like this one right here that he loves to cut up. I wanted to get some stuff made, but I didn't get it made. but we've just been eating them fresh like this. I've got a few fruit flies flying around because of those tomatoes that I had out here. I think I'm going to get a spatula. Yeah, we make different salads. Tuna salad, potato salad, macaroni salad, pea salad, chicken salad. I mean, we make a lot of things with mayonnaise. So I buy a lot of mayonnaise. Let's see, I hope I can get this in without making too big of a mess. See if I can get it in here. And then my arm's probably in the way for you. And it looks like we're going to have exactly 1 quart left in here. So that was good timing. Got a little bit of mess on the jar. Now here's a good tip for you that helps me a lot. Now this kind of container right here, it wasn't as easy to scrape as it, you know, like when you have a bowl. But if you have a bowl and you're trying to scrape stuff out of it, if you'll use a bench scraper, you'll be surprised how good that'll get. Now this little container here's got some grooves around it, and I'm going to call that good enough right there. Now I got a mess to clean up around my jar. And if you've been around my house, then you know I don't buy paper towels. Now these are some paper towels that napkins, paper napkins that came with a meal, and we don't ever throw the extra napkins away. We've just got a drawer that we put those things in, these paper towels or napkins, and then we use them. Paper towels are not in my grocery budget at all, so I don't buy them. Now when we're reaching for mayonnaise, this will be what we reach for. And then when I get the next gallon, actually I'll break them down into quart sizes like this. It will make it easy to get to. I am drinking tea this morning, and I added a little bit of hot chocolate to my tea because I wanted it to be rich and flavorful. So I've got pumpkin hot chocolate basically here, and it is good. I have got to do some baking. I haven't bought paper towels in, it's got to be at least 30 years. Now, I may have picked up one roll here or there to take to a party or something, if that's what they asked me to bring, you know, a family gathering or a group gathering. But as on a regular basis, I don't buy. That's a little bit wet where I wiped it. I don't want it to get on my book. I don't buy things that I have to throw away. One-time use things, a lot. Now there is something that you'll see on my kefir grains and on my ferments that I have, and that is filters for coffee maker, coffee filters. I do buy those. And I use those, but not like you would paper towels. I use those on a basis such as going over the top of my ferments and putting a rubber band over it to keep the gnats out. As you can see right here, my kombucha, I use the coffee filters to put over it. This one probably needs a new coffee filter. I use it on my kefir grains. And I use it on my vinegars. I made crabapple vinegar with some of those extra crab apples that I've got. And it is beautiful. I really want to do some baking today. I have been wanting to do fall baking for quite a while, and I've been so busy. Well, I'm going to make some pumpkin things today. I have some canned pumpkin from the Walmart, the Great Value canned pumpkin. It's a, how big is this container? 29-ounce container of pumpkin. It's the big one. I've got some home canned pumpkin here, and I've got a little fresh pumpkin. Now, out of all of these, this little fresh pumpkin would probably take you the longest to prepare because you would have to wash it, take the stem off, cut it, get the seeds out, and bake it till it was soft, then make a puree out of it, and then use it that way. But we're not going to do that today. I've got these pumpkins. I'm going to use this one up because I need to use it anyway. I've got quite a few jars of these where I canned some pumpkins I got on sale, and I am going to go ahead and use that today. But you can use whatever kind of pumpkin that you have or whatever you have access to. Right now at this time of the year, there's a lot of fresh pumpkins like this right here out. So just feel free if that's something you want to use. That is perfectly good. We need to be eating all these pumpkins that we have here instead of throwing them away or letting them go bad. That would be an excellent way to use them up. Well, I've got this book. I shared this book with you that I got it from Ollie's way back in, I don't know, it was really early. I want to say like maybe August I got this book, and I haven't baked anything out of it. I have read through this book though, and I have enjoyed it. And one of the things that I liked here, it tells you about fall spices. There are certain spices that just put you in the mind of fall, and I really liked that. They add delicious flavor to your fall baked goods using these spices, and they taste just right for the season. And of course, the first one they have here is allspice. They have cinnamon. They have anise. But I don't think we'd be using that kind of anise. Let's see what it says about that. These seeds are used ground or whole and give desserts and baked goods like biscotti a licorice flavor. Don't confuse anise seed with star anise, shown next to the spoon, which is a different spice. It has a similar flavor, but it's much stronger. So you can buy ground anise, and that's what they're suggesting. And of course, these are beautiful. I have these on hand. They said don't use these because they're stronger, but they're just showing you here maybe to make a point. Now, number 4 is ground cloves. Number 5 is nutmeg. And number 6 is cardamom. Now, if you are ready for pumpkin season, you probably already have some pumpkin spice on hand. And it'll tell you what's in here. Right on the package, it'll tell you what kind of spices are in here. Let's look and give ourselves an idea of what kind of spices are in here. Sugar, cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, and clove. Now, I probably wouldn't use this one because it's got sugar. I would use it to go maybe on top of a latte, on top of a good hot drink that you wanted to add some pumpkin spice to. But I wouldn't use it really to cook with because of that sugar. That just puts me off just a little bit. Over here I've got another one. This one, of course, is just from, I believe it's from Sam's Club, actually. Pumpkin spice, and let's see what's in here. A rich blend of exotic blend of spices, including cinnamon, sugar, and nutmeg, that brings delicious pumpkin pie spice flavor to drinks, baked goods, and more. So this one too has added sugar. So I'm not going to use either one of those today. I'm going to make my own. Woo! I'm going to make my own, and right here is a little how-to. Now, I know you can find your own pumpkin spice recipes online. I have saw those online. This one says mix 4 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. We've got our cinnamon out here. 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of ground cloves, and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Store it in an airtight container in a cool, dry place for up to 6 months. Now, I'm not going to use 1 teaspoon of ground cloves because cloves are strong, and that would be a lot for me. So I'm going to cut this cloves back a little bit. I do know that without even thinking about it. I love cloves, but I do know they're a very strong spice. So let's start this over. 4 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. I've got that right here. That smells delicious. That already smells like fall to me. Maybe this is one of my favorite spices, without a doubt. Cinnamon is delicious, isn't it? Every time I smell it, I'm like, why don't I cook with this more often? I'm going to go ahead and rinse my little teaspoon off and give it a dry because I don't want it to mix. I don't want to mix these spices. I do want to mix it when I get ready to bake with it, but I don't want to mix it. I don't want to put the cinnamon spoon in the ground nutmeg or vice versa. I want to keep them, each one have their individual integrity. Okay, this was ground ginger. I've got to open some ginger up right here. Got a fresh container of ginger. I've been putting some ginger in things that I don't usually put ginger in because I love the good properties of this ginger. See how many teaspoons of ginger? 2 teaspoons of ginger. And the ginger smells good too. We got to do the same thing. Got to clean our little teaspoon. Alright, so we've got our cinnamon, we've got our ginger, and it says 1 teaspoon of ground cloves, and I am going to cut that in half because I can smell the cloves through this lid. That's the truth. The older I get, the more I appreciate ground cloves. But you don't want to use too much of it because it's strong. Alright, I'm just going to cut that down to a 1/2 teaspoon. And then the nutmeg, it says a 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. I think nutmeg is strong too. I have an idea that it's pretty strong itself. I know when I make muffins or anything with it, I always cut my nutmeg in half, and then I add whatever I cut out of the nutmeg. I add cinnamon, and that helps me not be overpowered by the nutmeg. Now we're going to mix this together. Our cinnamon, our 4 teaspoons of cinnamon, ground cinnamon, and then we're going to mix our 2 teaspoons of ginger. We're going to mix our 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves because I cut that back. To me, 1 teaspoon of ground cloves was just way too much. And the same with the ground nutmeg. I also cut the 1/2 teaspoon down to 1/4 because to me that would have been just too strong. Now the instructions say to mix this all together. So we're going to get that part taken care of, and then to put it into an airtight container. I've got this little spice jar. I've got several of these, not a whole bunch of them, but a couple of them. And I'm just going to get that right in there. Let me find my little funnel. Just putting it in there with the funnel, I think, is going to get it good mixed up. It's going to take a few minutes. Now you can use a straw to put it down there and help it go through a lot faster. But we got our pumpkin pie spices all mixed up and ready to go. I'm going to take a minute and put a little label on here because it looks very similar to a lot of things, and if I don't put this label on here, I'll forget what's in here. And of course I can smell it and kind of get an idea, but it's just better and quicker to go ahead and put a label on anything you mix together like this. So now we got us some pumpkin pie spice to use, kind of working towards what we like, how we like it. Kind of custom made here, our pumpkin pie spice. We don't have too much of something we don't want in here. We got it to taste just the way we want it to taste. Now I'm going to figure out what I'm going to make. I got my pumpkin picked out, and I've got my pumpkin spice mix made that I think I like best. I found a few recipes. I didn't use the one out of that fall book. It just seemed more complicated than I wanted it to be. So I just pulled out a pumpkin bread from this book that I've got. What is it called? It's the Betty Crocker's cookbook here. And it had a pumpkin bread that I liked. I might have a pumpkin bread in my own recipes, but I'm not going to dig for that one today. This one's the one I come across, and I'm just going to make this one. And it's sugar, oil, eggs, flour, baking soda, salt, ground cinnamon, ground nutmeg, and I can just use my pumpkin pie spice there in place of those. 2/3 cup of water and a 15-ounce can of pumpkin. So that's what I've got going on here. Now I've just got to find out what kind of pan that I've used. Well, I love to bake, and over the course of the years I've collected some pans. These are not all of them, just a few I pulled out for this. Now I love this Williams and Sonoma pan. I've had this for a while, and of course I use it the most at this time of the year, and it makes a beautiful cake. I've got this one right here, or cake, or bread pan. And I've also got this one that I like to use. I sometimes use this when I make homemade bread. And then I've got a variety of bundt pans here. I've got some of this little bundt pan. It's about 6.5 cups. It's smaller than this one right here. Whenever, if you don't want to make a whole big cake, this little bundt pan is helps you decide how much you're going to make. So that's a smaller bundt pan. And then I have this one right here that's my aunt gave me years ago, and that's a heavy aluminum bundt pan, and it makes a pretty design on your bundt cake. That's the reason I like that. But this one I probably use the most because it's a Miro pan, a Wilton. I'm sorry, it's a Wilton, and it just this is the one I use the most. But say if I make a big cake mix and I have some left over, I'll use this little pan so that I don't waste it, and I'll just make a tiny, tiny cake. I call that chef's share. I'll make a chef's share of cake, and anything that's left over, that belongs to the chef. Well, I got these pans pulled out right here. Let's see what kind of pan is this one. I didn't even really notice it. Oh, it's a Nordic ware. I love Nordic ware pans. I have quite a few of them in different varieties. So I got Nordic ware bundt. This is an official bundt pan. And then this pretty little pumpkin pan from Williams and Sonoma that I've had for quite a few years. It's a little bit scuffed up here. You can see from the wear and tear of it. But I love it. This is a good pan too from Williams and Sonoma. And then this little old Wilton pan here. Well, it's the biggest one actually. Now see, it doesn't make a real deep design. See the difference in this one? See, the design is subtle. Now look at the vintage pan here. This design is raised up. It's beautiful. It makes a a more beautiful cake, if you ask me. It's got these really, when you bake this cake and this cake comes out, it's got those ridges that these are good and deep in here. It's a heavier pan. This one's lighter, and you can see the ridges and stuff are not as deep. Now, one thing about this is when you're greasing your pan, when you're greasing this, and we call it greasing whenever you put a non-stick surface in here, a non-stick product to keep your cake from sticking to the bundt can. These want to stick easy. A bundt cake is, you got to make sure this thing is greased in all of its nooks and crannies. And then usually when I use the grease, which would be shortening or lard, whatever grease you decide to use in your pan, then I would sprinkle it with a very light sprinkling of flour and roll it in there and coat it. Now this here, this pan is complicated. It's got a complicated impression in there, and so look, it's hard to get into like these little stems right here. I mean, you would practically need like a paintbrush, or you would, you can't, your finger's not going to fit down in that little stem shape right here. If you can see what I'm talking about, that's an indentation, and that's hard to do with your fingers. So whenever I use this pan, I always use this. I use a spray, which I don't use a lot, but whenever I use this pan, it's called for. This one's not hard to put the non-stick coating on, whatever you use. I use lard. If you've been around here, you know that's what I use. So this one would be easy to get into the crevices with your fingers, but that's just something to keep in mind. If you use a real detailed pan like this, you're probably going to need some kind of spray. They also make this with flour already in it, and that's a really good non-stick product. Now, I don't use this product much, so I don't have one with flour in it. I don't buy a lot of excessive things like this. I would never just buy a whole can to sit in here because I don't use this pan that often. You know what I'm saying? So I would have my own shortening already, my own lard already ready to use. But those are some things to keep in mind when you're deciding what kind of pan you're going to use. Now, I am wanting to make something pumpkin. Pumpkin is just on my mind right now because it's fall. Here it is in October when I'm making this video, and I'm just in the mood for something pumpkin. Now, here's a good recipe. I got it out of the Betty Crocker book. I don't know which one. But I take them out, use them, and then I'll put them back in the book. That way the book's not laying over here around. Now, this is a pretty basic, easy recipe. It says it takes 20 minutes to prep it. It bakes for 55 minutes at a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven, and it makes 2 loaves. Well, this thing about this big pan right here is you can put the whole 2 loaves in just this pan because that pan is that big. This is a good-sized pan. Let's see if it has the measurements on here. But it's bigger than an average loaf pan. See, I can fit 2 loaves into this one, this big old Nordic ware pan. And so I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to use this pan, make this recipe, put the whole recipe in this, and adjust everything accordingly. The time is probably all I'd have to adjust. And it bakes for about 55 to 65 minutes, so it's going to take a little while to get this thing ready. But I'm going to go ahead and mix it up, put it in this pan. I always try to read over the recipe before I just start rushing in to make it, because it just gives you such good tips on it, and it lets you know ahead, helps you with your steps. Now, this tells you on down here that you can make raisin nut pumpkin bread. You prepare it as above, except fold in 3/4 cup raisins and 3/4 cup chopped walnuts into the batter after the pumpkin has been added. So that's what we'll be doing. I've got my nuts here out of the freezer and my raisins right here, and so I'm going to add those because I think it'll make a more interesting, beautiful bread. We love nuts and pumpkins, so it's going to be okay to go ahead and make that one. My family will be just fine with it. Okay, well, I'm going to progressing along here to the recipe. And the recipe calls for 3 cups of sugar. I've already got that in my bowl. 1 cup of cooking oil. I've already got that measured out. 4 eggs, and I had to use 5 because I've got a tiny little bantam chicken that laid an egg, and so you see it right here. This very small egg. I had to use 2 to make up for one normal sized egg. Okay, 3.5 cups all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1.5 of salt. The cinnamon and the nutmeg, I'm just going to go ahead and use those spices we made up. 2/3 cup of water, which I'm using apple juice, and a 15-ounce can of pumpkin. If y'all remember, I had a 29-ounce can of pumpkin. So I'm just going to take about half of this, and that'll be about what I need. That's approximately what I need. Well, I'm going to go ahead. Now, I would normally use lard on this, but I think that this was probably something easier that everybody can get to. This is butter flavored Crisco, which means it's made from vegetable oil. It's put through a process that makes it solid, but it is made from a vegetable oil. I'm going to go ahead and grease this pan up really good. Try to get all these little crooks and crannies on this pan. Not as much as what is normally on a pan, on the other pans, but they still have to be sure. If you don't put your seasoning or whatever you call it, your grease, right here on your pan, if you don't get all these little nooks and crannies in this pan, that cake will stick to it. Your cake mix and everything as it cooks, it'll stick, and then that'll be a mess. You don't want your cake, well, in this case it's pumpkin bread, but you don't want your bread or your cake, whatever you're cooking in it, to stick, so you want to be sure you get some of this all over the pan. Now you can use butter, you can use lard, you can use this Crisco, you can use whatever you normally use to coat your pans to keep your things from sticking, your baked goods from sticking in your pan. But today I was going to go ahead and use lard, but I thought that Crisco might be more easily accessible from everybody, so I decided to use that. Now that I've got all that on the pan, I'm going to go ahead and use some flour, just a little bit of flour to coat inside of there, because that's what I would normally do. You put about a teaspoon of flour in, and you just kind of shake it around. That helps keep your bread and cake from sticking, and it also keeps the bottom of your pan from absorbing all that grease. So now we got our pan coated. We've got everything ready right here to get our cake mixed up, or our bread. It's actually bread, but it's got sugar in it, so that would make it a cake to me. Here's our mixing bowl, and I've already put the sugar in, the 3 cups of sugar. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and whip up these eggs. Not whip them up, but just mix them up. Because I like to mix my eggs and sugar and oil all together. That's not recommended to do it here in this recipe, but it's just something from age-old baking. Me having baked a lot, that I figured out that is a good thing to do. Now some people like to put the oil in with the eggs first. The oil and in with the sugar first and then the eggs. And this recipe, I think, calls for it to be that way too. But I always just put my eggs in the sugar. That's a habit that I've got, so that's a little quirk that I do. I'm not sure if that's good, bad, or ugly, but it's just how I usually do it. So I have got 3 cups of sugar and 4 eggs in here. It's calling for 1 cup of oil. Of course, I use avocado oil. You use whatever kind of oil you normally use. And instead of the spoon, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this spatula because it will make it easier for me to get all this mixed up for the ingredients that's coming. With our sugar, eggs, and oil mixed together here, thoroughly incorporated. Okay, we're just going to set this aside for a minute. We've got our flour here. There's a few things that need to go together in the dry ingredients. I've got my baking soda right here. Got salt right here. So we're going to add our spices. We got them right here, ready to go. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking soda. You want to make sure that's not clumped up. And so you can get some clumps in your baking soda. Alright. They want 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Our recipe calls for a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of cinnamon and a teaspoon of nutmeg. We made our spices, so I'm just going to go ahead and use 2 teaspoons of our pumpkin pie spice that we made. Now I'm going to take my little whisk and get my dry ingredients incorporated really well. Got kind of a small bowl, so it's taking me a little bit longer than it normally would. Alright, now we got this mixed all together. Let's get our big bowl back over here. I'm going to add the apple juice, which would call for water in the recipe, but I tried to substitute flavor anytime there's water. I'm going to use half of this pumpkin. And you can eyeball this to make sure you've got the amount of pumpkin that you need. A little less or a little more is not going to make a difference. And we've got that put. And you know what you do with this. You just put it in a container. You can save it if you're going to do a few recipes within the next few days. Or you can put it in a freezer bag. I'll be making some more pumpkin recipes, so I'm just going to go ahead and take this amount of pumpkin. And put it in this container. And I'll be using it in the next few days. go. Okay, got the pumpkin in here. It says you can use a hand mixer, but I'm not using a hand mixer right now. I'm just going to mix it up with my hand. But it's supposed to be thoroughly mixed, so. Now this, we're supposed to just add a little bit at a time until we get this incorporated. I think you're supposed to do it vice versa and put your wet ingredients into your dry ingredients, but that's not how we're doing it today because my dry ingredients bowl is too small to do that with. So I'm going to go ahead and mix them together like this. Just mix in each little batches of flour until you get them incorporated into your wet ingredients. Now I like to go ahead and take my flour and put my dry ingredient, my nuts. You see I've got nuts here, they're walnuts. And I'm going to use some raisins because, you know, the recipe said we can do this. It'll add a lot more flavor and a lot more goodness. I absolutely love raisins. It's one of my favorite things. So I'm going to go ahead and put these walnuts and these raisins into this dry flour mixture that I've got left. And I'll mix them in. When you do this right here, it keeps your nuts and your raisins, whatever you add to your mix, it keeps them from sinking to the bottom when you coat them with flour. So I'm just going to add those walnuts and those raisins on in here, get them coated with flour. I'm going to continue to just mix this stuff right on in. Now we got it good mixed up, and you can see that the raisins and the nuts didn't all go to the bottom because we mixed them in the way we did. Alright, now we got our big pan here. Now this looks like it might fill this big pan up. Let's see what happens here. Now I can't fill it too full because it's got to have room to rise. Now I did spray this other pan here just in case. So let me go ahead and get this into the smaller pan. I've already got the stove turned on 350 degrees, preheated 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to get these into the oven, start the timing. And we'll see how our pumpkin bread turns out. I kind of want to make a streusel to go on top of this. It's taken me a little bit of discipline not to put that streusel on, because I know when I turn these over, you know, I'll serve them turned over probably, instead of like this will be the bottom, because, you know, the decoration and everything will be underneath here, so I won't put streusel on. But I am tempted. I love some streusel now. I like it in muffins, and I like it on breads. I'll go ahead and get these in the middle of the oven. My light's burned out in my oven. I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. And I'll check that little one. You know, one of those pans is bigger than the other. So I will start checking that earlier. I'll probably check it around 45 minutes, that little pan that's in there. And then I'll check the other one and see how far along it's got to cook. So now we just wait on the goodness. They're done. Let's get them out. There we go. Let's test them. That one's got a tad bit on the this one's done. I'm going to stick this one in for a few more minutes because it looked like it had a little bit on the, yeah, it needs a little while. Got to put it in for a little bit longer. Let's try this again. It's been in there for a few more minutes. Let's see if it's done. Smells really, really good. Yep, comes out clean. It's done. I'm gonna let this cool. A tip on these is let these kinds of breads and things cool really well, and then we'll come back and taste it. Alrighty, I think this has cooled off enough. Let's flip it over and see what we got. Well, it flipped right out, didn't it? Well, that turned out really pretty. I'm going to put a little bit of powdered sugar on it so we can see it. Just get a spoon out. Had to fill this little shaker up. I don't know that it really helps it show up any better. but I think that's pretty. I'm going to go ahead and just take off a little bit and taste it. It looks good. Okay, we're going to taste a little bit of this pumpkin bread. Let's see what it tastes like. I always love to taste the first baked thing of a season. It's so yummy. I'm glad I got 2 little loaves. Good with tea. Thank you for joining me today, hanging out with me. I hope you have a great day. I hope you're having a great fall day, enjoying all the goodness that comes at this time of the year. You know, I appreciate you. Remember to subscribe, to share, comment, and like this video if you want to see my small channel get bigger. Thank you for joining me today. And like always, until next time.